I just watched the first 3 episodes of Mighty Nine. For context, I have been waiting literal years for this show to come out. Uh, I am a huge fan of the original D&D campaign that the show is based off of. The moment they announced that Vox Machina was going to be made, the first show that was based off of the first campaign that Critical Role ever did, I immediately was like, oh, does that mean they're going to do the Mighty Nine? Because that's the one I fell in love with. I watched a bit of Vox Machina, but Mighty Nine's the one I binged. I mean, this was a couple years ago, but there was a period of a couple weeks where it took over my life, and that was practically all I did was binge those episodes back to back to back. And I love them. They're very dear to my heart. I fell in love with those characters. Even the ones that I hated at the beginning, I fell in love with. There's this very intense found family dynamic that I became very deeply moved by, and I was very excited when they announced they were going to put it to screen. So, now it's happened, and I like it so far. I mean, the moment the show started, I had the biggest smile on my face. It's been so many years since I've revisited those characters and that world, and it felt like a warm blanket coming back over me. It's almost like returning to childhood, even though I totally did not watch the Mighty Nine in childhood. It was wonderful seeing those characters again. They do feel like themselves, although, a cultivated version of themselves. Bo is definitely softened, or at least a little less harsh, which is probably smart. She's a little more likable at the onset than she was in the original, I think. Though I think that's a consequence of the narrative giving her a clear authoritarian force to rail against. It feels more focused, her anger, which I like. Be interesting to see how they approach all of their character arcs. Those were the parts of the story that I was most invested in, so I'm curious to see how they approach adapting those arcs. Generally, what they seem to decide to do is start the characters off before the beginning of the campaign, so you kind of have a sense of what's going on with them. They deliberately hold back a bit on Caleb and Not, which is the correct choice. And then Molly is expanded a bit, which is lovely to see. Always love to see more Molly. But like Bo, in the case of Bo and Jester, you kind of get a sense of like where they come from and who they are at the starting point. And then they go to the circus. They decide to introduce Ford before he adopts Vandren's personality and does his Texan accent and all of that stuff. So you see that change in that whole character arc. I think that works well. They've made a lot of changes, but I am of the opinion, I am open to the changes being made so long as the character dynamics are maintained. So I'm going to withhold judgment on some of the changes that I'm unsure about, because I am open to seeing where they go with it. They change some of the character introductions and how they meet, and I'm concerned that that will have implications on the future dynamics of the party. I mean, Yasha isn't even there. I think in this version, Molly and Yasha aren't even friends. Like, she hasn't even kind of shown up. That's wild. I'm willing to see where it goes with that, so I deliberately am gonna withhold judgment on certain changes that I'm unsure about. There are certain changes, though, that I am very happy about, that I think are just immediately and obviously fantastic. The first being how they introduced the Luxon Beacon and the Kryn society and how important it is to for Kryn society right away. It's established, the context that this whole story takes place in is kind of established right away. And I think that is a good choice when adapting, because otherwise you have to explain it, and there's so much exposition that could have gone into that. But instead, they did a scene that I think is fantastic, where they managed to take a very arcane and esoteric and almost religious concept and visualize it and get that point across very quickly and very cleanly, so we don't have to, in the future down the line, like stop the whole production and be like, okay, so this is what this device does. And I appreciate that. I think they did a really good job starting there. I also love how they decided to introduce the concept of the Volstrucker wizard assassins right away off the bat. It's a brilliant choice because there are menacing figures that they can now incorporate into the story earlier, and including Astrid and Aelwulf that early, I think, allows for a lot of cool opportunities that they didn't get to do in the campaign proper. My only criticism of introducing them that early is they're so powerful compared to how powerful the Mighty Nein are at the time that there's some very imbalanced matchups. Like, they have Bo and Astrid go at it in like episode 1, and I know this isn't D&D, right? This is a show based on D&D. The D&D rules are not followed, and that's fine. That's a good thing. Whatever's the best for the plot, I get that.
However, this feels kind of like when a scientist gets annoyed at a scientific inaccuracy in like a space movie. This is how I feel when it comes to D&D for this specific circumstance. Astrid versus Bo should not have even, like, that's just inconceivable. It's inconceivable, right? Like, Bo should not have even lasted that long. She should have wiped the floor with her. She should be dead. I know she's not really level 1 or level 2 or whatever level she was, but it doesn't make any sense from a D&D standpoint that she not only survived, but did weirdly well. Like, she lasted more than 6 seconds, and that should not have lasted more than a single round. And you're like, oh, well, maybe she missed. I don't know. Even in wizard spells that miss, and if she took half damage, even half damage at Astrid's level would annihilate Bo at that level.
But that's okay. It's okay. It's not really D&D. It's a show. So, like, she didn't even have Stunning Strike at that time.
Like, you could make an argument that if she got off Stunning Strike, she could beat a wizard, or I should say, could survive fighting a wizard at that level. And I'm like, yeah, but she explicitly doesn't have Stunning Strike at that point. So, no, it just doesn't work.
Whatever. The thing is, I think that scene is a great idea. Like, them being introduced early, and Bo and her having this kind of weird dynamic going on works fine. I just think that they should have made it more visually obvious that Bo is out of her league at this point, and that she needs to get stronger before she can make it. Because even though Astrid totally beat her, it was way closer a fight than it should have been. Not just because in D&D terms, it should have not been a question, but also just narratively. Narratively they have, oh my god, what's her name? Shoot. Oh, I forgot her name. And anyway, Bo's mentor figure tells Bo, hey, you should just run. They're way out of your league, right? And that should have been reflected in the fight itself. The fight should not have been a fight. It should have been you get shot once, you fall down, and the mentor figure saves her. It should have been obvious, visually and thematically obvious. This is a completely different thing, because I think her menace throughout the story would be more significant. That is on a whole minor gripe. Generally, though, I really like introducing those characters that early, and I even like the idea of setting Astrid up as this, like, boogeyman, terrifying wizard assassin that is haunting their steps. And because that will make Bo's story super interesting. It also will have interesting ramifications with Bo and Caleb's relationship, and I think that is a cool idea that will work really well. And in general, establishing Trent and the political backdrop with these extra scenes allows for the stakes of the story and the context to be a lot clearer. And I like that. I do. I will say, a consequence of kind of opening that door and letting the audience in on the villainous machinations of wizards behind the scenes is the Essek reveal is practically in the first episode or in the second, I can't remember. It is a wild adaptational choice. This, like, if you haven't seen The Mighty Nein, you don't really understand, but revealing that Essek is a double agent in, like, the first two episodes is the narrative equivalent of remaking Star Wars and deciding to reveal the identity of Darth Vader in the first 10 minutes of the first movie. It's just so early. And I was shocked by it, but I'm going to withhold judgment on whether or not I like that choice. On one hand, I feel sad that the new audience that's coming in through that show won't get the massive plot twist that was and how big of a deal that was to the critter community.
And there standing in his place is a gently floating male drow with short hair.
No. He's traitor. He's a tool.
To which the revealed Essek responds.
On the other hand, it does allow for new opportunities to explore that character more. And it might allow them to lean harder on the Cold War spy honeypot vibes that Essek and Caleb's whole thing give off. And if they're deliberately doing this to lean harder into that, I'm all for it, because that part of that story, if you want to start that earlier, go ahead. I love that part of the story. So I'm on the fence on how I feel about that. But it's happened, and it's wild. But as I said, I'm going to withhold judgment on those type of things before I decide whether I like them or not. We'll see, right? One thing I will say that I think could have been done better is the narrative structure. They jump around a lot, and anyone who knows my channel is that I am always suspicious of jumping through a lot of different plots at the same time. I generally, unless there's a good reason for it, believe you should kind of condense those characters' stories into one spot and then switch to another instead of jumping all over the place. When they all coincide at the circus, the pacing's great, and I actually love the dipping in and out of each story as they're passing each other, and the visual gags with them kind of flitting by each other and almost circling each other. It's great. I love that. Before that, when they're all separated, it kind of feels pacing-wise a little haphazard, where everything's all over the place. And that's kind of unfortunate. I kind of wish they fixated on one and then get them to the circus and then go to another, instead of everyone all at once. Like, have one segment dedicated to Jester and Ford, one segment dedicated to Bo, one segment dedicated to Caleb and Not, and then Molly, and then kind of have them all meet at the circus, but not have them all running around and then everyone's at the circus. It's like, I think pacing wise that would have helped. But again, minor issue, and won't be an issue in the future because now they're all together, and I love it. That's those dynamics are what I'm here for, and I'm so excited for the next segment because I want to see those interactions, the lifeblood of that show, and I'm very excited for it. I am really looking forward to the next episodes and seeing how they adapt this wild plot. It's gonna be a fun ride. I'm really excited. What do you think of Mighty Nein so far? Comment down below your thoughts. If you want to be informed of when my next review drops, please subscribe. Also, I have a book. I release 2 chapters a week for free in the link below. It's from the perspective of a sentient sword that is totally not cursed. Definitely some Ford vibes there. If you're interested, click the link below. Happy reading. Take care.